Hey gang, Wonder Rob here.
And Shop's here too.
This podcast is part of the Geek So To Speak network.
Visit geeksotospeak.com for our full podcast lineup.
Captain's Log, Stardate 99809.22. Co-Captain Shoff and myself are excited about the current state of Picard. Season 2 is shaping up to be far superior in every way to Season 1, and we're here for it. I plan on telling Shoff all about who will be filling the shoes of Captain James T. Kirk, and I think he's going to be pleasantly surprised. Setting phasers for fun as we count down the days until Strange New Worlds enters our orbit. We are back. TREKnological is in the house. Woo! I am your host, Vactor. I'm with my co-host, co-captain, Shoff. Shoff, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. I'm doing real good. I mean, that's a lie. It's been a rough week, but I'm doing good. For the sake of our Trekkies out there, I couldn't be better.
Yeah. There's nothing better than talking Trek with my boy, Shoff. And you, listeners, are about to learn that as we continue our journey through the world of Star Trek Picard and all the news of the week. And this week, actually, we have a special unboxing because Shoff, the most generous co-captain in the world, sent me a gift. Although, when I look at the return address, Shoff, it says Donald Riley. And I said, Shoff, are you going by another name, or did you go by another name I didn't even know you by?
That's my pseudonym when I want to send gifts anonymously. I'm Donald Riley.
Dang.
Donald Riley, he's an interesting fellow. His hair is slicked back. He likes Orange Crush, and he likes to wear plaid corduroy pants.
I want to meet Donald Riley. But if there's anyone else in the universe, in the galaxy, I would have Shoff here as my co-captain. So that's what we're going to do this week on TREKnological. Don't forget, you can always check us out on whatever podcast catcher you're listening to us on. Leave us a review. Most likely, if you're on Apple or Spotify, you can leave us a 5-star review. That will help us out. And share us with your friends, because there's nothing says loving like the TREKnological podcast. If you want to get your significant other a great Valentine's Day gift, give them the gift of Vactor and Shoff.
Think ahead for next year.
Yes. We just had St. Patrick Stewart's Day. If you were Irish, if you have an Irish co-captain in your house, give them the TREKnological podcast. Coming up,
I'm an Irish co-captain. Leprechaun.
We love the Star Trek puns here. Actually, if you want to send us a Star Trek pun, you can always reach out to us on social media. We are on Twitter and Instagram at TREKnopod, and we love sharing memes. That's all we do. Shoff lives for sharing memes, so you should do that too. Let us know what your favorite Star Trek meme is, and we will share it throughout the galaxy. Also, don't forget, we are part of the greatest podcast network in the known galaxy, the Geek So To Speak podcast network, where we have wonderful shows that you can check us out on. Shoff and I also are on the Geek So To Speak podcast, the granddaddy of them all.
That's right.
You're listening to TREKnological right now. If you're into the other galaxy, far, far away, Star Wars, you can check out myself and Cinemark on the Holden Maneuver. And if you're into video games, you can check out myself, Wonder Rob from Geek So To Speak, and Jeff W. as we talk about all the video games we've been playing throughout the week. So all of those can be found on geeksotospeak.com.
Wait, you're forgetting one.
Another
the
one?
newest one.
Yeah, I forgot. If you want to check out a wonderful comic book podcast, you can check out Vactor Loves Comics. where I will be talking about whatever I've been reading throughout the week. This week, just to give you a little sneak peek, I was checking out the DMZ comic book because Shoff, Rob, and myself are going to be talking the DMZ miniseries on HBO Max over on the Geek So to Speak podcast. So you can check out all of those things on geeksotospeak.com, the Geek So to Speak podcast network. We would love to have you. All right, Shoff, let's get right into the big Star Trek news. There wasn't a lot of Trek news this week.
It's true.
But there was a big casting, and that is Captain James T. Kirk. Tiberius is going to be played in the brand new Star Trek show, Strange New Worlds, by Vampire Diaries actor. And I know, Shoff, you told me off mic, Vampire Diaries is your favorite show of all time. So I'm sure you are very familiar with Paul Wesley. I know you have Paul Wesley posters on your wall from your Vampire Diaries podcast that you did, Shoff. But he's my lady jam. He's my lady jam. He has been cast as the original captain, James T. Kirk. And I saw William Shatner tweeting a nice congratulatory welcoming message to Paul Wesley. That was cool on Twitter. He was like, take care of my ship and crew. That was very nice. So, Shoff, what do you think about this guy, Paul Wesley? Do you know anything about him besides your fanfic that you write about him every night? Do you know anything about Paul Wesley?
Wow. How did you get a hold of my Tumblr? That's all I want to know. True story, even though this is going to be totally contradictory to what Vactor has been talking about, I don't know much about Paul Wesley at all. It came as a big shock to me. I mean, we only got like a hint of Captain Pike in Discovery, and obviously that was the jumping off point for this spin-off series, Strange New Worlds. But the fact that we're getting our first season of Strange New Worlds, and they're already filming the second season of Strange New Worlds, and that's what Captain Kirk is being cast as. It's not for this season, so it's like it's interesting. We haven't even seen the first episode of season 2 of Strange New Worlds. I'm sorry, of season 1 of Strange New Worlds, but we already know casting for the second season, and to me it feels just a little soon to be bringing Kirk in. But then again, they haven't necessarily shown him on the Enterprise. He could very well be on a different ship because they don't coexist on the same Enterprise. Kirk replaces Pike. And so I like, part of me wonders, like, are they going to replace Pike that quickly on Strange New Worlds? And I kind of hope they don't. I kind of hope this is Kirk before Enterprise Kirk. Yeah. Because if it is, that'll be fun, because then you can see a side of Kirk that we've never seen before, which is post Academy Kirk, but a pre Enterprise Kirk. So I think like that would be a cool jam. I just don't know what they're going to do with it. My hope, though, is that it goes that way, and not that they're going to just upend Pike's situation on the Enterprise with his fated demise, if you will. So
right, yeah, I am interested to see, because I'm like Shoff. I don't have any previous knowledge of Vampire Diaries. I don't know anything that Paul Wesley has done, and I really want to see what he's going to do with the role of Captain Kirk. Like you said, the show is supposed to be Pike's show, so I highly doubt, unless they're just going for the biggest, switch up in history, that they would just have one actor be the main captain and then all of a sudden switch him in the next season. I just don't see him doing that. It is actually interesting that Paramount Plus is doing these back to back, because they're doing it with Picard too, where they filmed all of season 2 and then season 3, and then they released season 2 as 3 was wrapping up. So I wonder what's going on there. But I like it. I like having content. I like having more Trek in the pipeline. This is a really good time right now, Shoff, to be a Trek fan, because
oh my gosh.
Yeah,
So right.
There's so much content coming out right now. But we are definitely looking forward to Strange New Worlds, and we're looking forward to Paul Wesley's interpretation of the character. Congratulations on the securing the role, sir. And we very much look forward to what you're going to do with it.
Yeah. Yeah. And also a quick shout out to Star Trek Discovery. So when we started this podcast, we knew that we were catching Discovery in the middle of its season. And that was kind of an awkward time to just start reviewing a show, especially since co-captain Vactor is not 100% caught up, and I didn't want to like force him to like jump ahead on episodes. So for our listeners, if you're wondering why we haven't covered any Discovery for season 4, there is a reason. We're just holding off on it. We'll come back to Discovery for sure. We wanted to focus on what is happening right now, and for a season that we could catch from the start. So, but season 4 just ended yesterday for Discovery. It was excellent. I did my part of really powering through season 4's episode so I could catch the finale as it was airing on TV. And it was so good, so good. So I highly recommend Trekkies, if you haven't really gotten into Discovery, do so. The seasons get progressively better. And if you can make it through the first season, which isn't bad, but if you compare it to the seasons that follow, it's not even close to the quality that you would find in 2, 3, or 4. So, so you really like, if you invest yourself into it, it's worth it.
You got me very excited, Shoff. I'm now doubling my efforts to get caught up on Discovery, because this sounds like it. Even the first season has me enraptured. I'm in the middle right now, and I don't know what a lot of people were talking about. Like, I heard a lot of bad things about Discovery. I'm loving what I've seen so far, and if you're telling me it only gets better from there, I cannot wait. So yeah, definitely I want to get caught up on Discovery.
Yes.
But my number one priority for this podcast is Star Trek Picard. So we got a chance to take a look. And Shav, you've been doubling up your viewings on these. Did you get a chance to double up on episode 203, Assimilation?
I wish I did. Unfortunately, there wasn't enough time in my week this week to get 2 viewings in. But I still feel like I was able to absorb enough of it the first time to be able to chat about it comfortably. So.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I unfortunately also did not get a chance to double my efforts, but episode 203, Assimilation, I can just say, has been continuing the trend of exciting Picard stuff. And in this episode, we see Picard and crew travel back to 2024 Los Angeles in search of the Watcher, who is going to help them identify the point at which time has diverged, because Q has sent them onto some type of parallel or alternate timeline. The past has been skewed off into a tangent, and Biff is running around 2024 Los Angeles, and he's just being terrible to everyone. This is 400 years in the past, and
I just want this tricorder? Go get it.
I thought it was interesting that it is set in 2024 as we are in 2022 right now. And I said, oh, this was just their excuse to not have to do anything to the sets or to the filming locations. It's current, it's modern. We don't have to do anything.
Yeah, it is a clever way to do that in terms of their budget, Very, very clever choice. And they did it in Star Trek 4, going to 1980s San Francisco.
That's what it made me think of.
California is apparently the place to go. If you're going to time travel, you got to go to California. That's the only place that matters.
Well, that's where the Starfleet Academy is. I wonder, do you know, Shoff? I may not be up on my Star Trek lore. Was there a reason why San Francisco was selected as Starfleet Academy's location?
I'm sure there is a reason behind it. Off the top of my head, I don't know, but let's have that as a takeaway, and I'll remember the question, and by next week, I will share an answer.
Oh yeah, and speaking of Biff and Back to the Future, Shoff, this episode was directed by Leah Thompson. You mean my mom has got the hots For me? I didn't know she was a director, Shoff. Is this the first thing you've seen her direct?
When I film an episode about time travel, it's like I'm filming an episode about time travel with my brother. It's wild. It's wild that she is doing this, but apparently she's a huge Star Trek fan and has been since she was a kid.
Dang.
So, yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah, I very much enjoyed this episode. You know, television directing is not, I don't think, as not hands-on, but you don't get the feel for that director as much as you do for film. I think when you say, oh, this person directed this film, you think of like Wes Anderson or like Christopher Nolan. There's certain directors, Tarantino's another one. You know their visual style, you know the way that they film and shoot. Television is not necessarily, they have so many directors coming in and out, and it's like you're keeping the roller coaster on the track. You're keeping the train in the station, trying to make sure everything goes smoothly.
Yeah.
So I very much liked her episode. I didn't necessarily see anything that was like, oh yeah, that was Leah Thompson. I could tell, right? That's the way that she films.
That is her style right there. No, I know for a fact that she has also directed the fourth episode, so the one for next week. So if there is a signature style that is Lorraine McFly, then it's going to be evident in next week's episode. So we'll see.
Nice. Okay. So the very beginning of the episode, Shoff, was kind of like the continuation of last week. We left off on a cliffhanger. Like I said on the podcast, I couldn't wait to get back into it and see what was going to happen. We got into the crew onto the ship, and Seven and Rafi, Rios, they were all standing there with phasers pointed at their heads. Eleanor had already been shot, and it was like a tense standoff moment. Everything hit the fan at that particular junction because Seven's husband started to figure out what was going on. We had a breakdown in their ruse of trying to be those people from the other alternate timeline kind of broke down. So I was, even from the beginning, I was into it. I was like, yes, this is a continuation. This is exactly where I wanted to be when we left off. Did you like the way that it started off? Did you like the way that it just kind of threw you in there? There wasn't any easing you in. You just got thrown right in there.
Yeah, I love that. And it really did end on a cliffhanger. So it would have been weird, I think, if they sort of glossed over the details of that. There is one aspect of things in this episode that I do feel like they gloss over, and that's the actual time travel piece of things. But, but to start in the middle of the action was a great touch. I also thought it was super funny. There's one part where the chief magistrate, the husband of Seven in this particular timeline, he's like, what's my full name? And what's funny is none of us know. The audience doesn't even know, because at no point do we hear it. She refers to him as dear, he refers to her as dear, and the rest of them call him chief magistrate. So I'm like, I don't even know what his last name or his first name is, and that's how insignificant he is. And to me, it was a little wild that they were so cavalier about not just like killing them, but full on disintegrating them.
Yes, that was a shocker to me. I was like, whoa, I literally like recoiled. I was like, whoa, okay, they're doing that.
I was like, you have to put the phaser setting up to full blast to completely atomize somebody.
Yeah.
So that to me was really strange, since they're human. Like, that was kind of cold-hearted a little bit. But then again, this season has had a lot of moments like that where like Eleanor is like slicing people's throats.
Yes.
And with no real remorse whatsoever. It's like they really don't put any kind of stock into this timeline at all.
100%. That's what I was thinking. And I was like, oh, okay, I guess they can justify it by, we're never going to see those guys again because this timeline is going to get erased. So, okay, right. It's fine that we're giving her a phaser divorce and disintegrating them.
Divorce.
That's the way we're going to do it. So, yeah, it shocked me a little bit, but I was like, okay, I'm on board because this isn't, we're not technically killing these guys. They'll be back later.
And then, of course, the fact that Eleanor succumbs to the injuries sustained from the phaser blast. I did not see that coming. I did not
Same.
think that they were going to kill off a main part of their crew, but it does definitely further motivate them that if there is the potential to fix the timeline, that then Elnor would be alive in the present day version of that timeline that's fixed. Then that's just another motivation. Like, I feel like they had enough motivation to fix it, but now they've got like way more than enough reasons to go ahead and solve the problems of the past. But
Yes.
I also think he's the right choice though to be killed because he honestly is the weakest part of that crew.
Yeah.
And the one with the least amount of backstory or personality. I hate to say it.
Right.
But if we lost Raffi, if we lost Seven, if we lost Rios, or even Girardi or any of them, like, they're all really interesting characters and they all bring it. And this is not a dig at Elnor or the guy playing Elnor. I just don't think that he's got a lot of substance.
Yeah.
He's the
really
most
just a
boring
tool.
character.
Yeah,
exactly.
He's just a tool to do martial arts and take people out. There's nothing necessarily, like you said, to his backstory, to his character. So I'm agreeing with you. I'm sure they'll bring him back. I was surprised that they took him away, but there's only so much time that we have, and we need to get to the main core of it. We need to see what's going on with Picard. We need to see what's going on with Raffi and all of these guys. So they, on their way after they've split up, after they've done the time travel, they all split up, go their separate ways. Everybody's got their side quest to go on in the year 2024. Out of all of these, we have Raffi and Seven going on a girls' trip. Girls get it done. They're trying to find the highest tower. We have Picard and Girardi trying to figure out, reboot the Borg Queen and get the piece of information out of her. And then Rios has his own, I don't know what, like his butterfly mission where he doesn't want to affect too many things, but he does it anyway. It seems like he's thinking with his little Rios, and he finds an interesting doctor that he is willing to basically alter everything for because he seems to be infatuated with her. So out of all of these timelines, or I should say these side quests, which one did you enjoy seeing the most, Shoff?
I would have to say probably the Girardi Picard storyline, which is actually the kind of the most interestingly static of the scenes. So like Seven and Raffi, like they have to go through Los Angeles and they're going through like the slums. They have to climb to the top of this building. They have to convince a guard to let them be there. And so they're doing a lot of the actual legwork. But their story is not nearly as interesting as while Girardi is being basically voluntarily assimilated in order to get the Borg Queen like reestablished and everything. Like that has the potential to be a very boring scene because nobody's moving. They're all sitting in chairs or hanging via wires. It's just dialogue. So it could easily be a very boring scene, but it was so tense because there was this danger of losing her completely to the collective. And the way she portrayed it, Alison Pill continues to impress me every episode this season. I liked her last season, but this season she's just like light years better and more interesting and a really great actress too. So many different emotions conveyed literally in the conversation, and she was going back and forth, and it was really fun to watch.
Yeah. Sorry.
Uh-oh. Co-Captain Vector's dying over here.
I'm 100% in agreement with you on that one. Alison Pill on the last season, it was more her previous work that I was going off of. Oh yeah, I liked her in Scott Pilgrim. This season, it's like, no, I like her as Girardi. I like her in this role. And she did a like acting seminar, a seminal seminar that she did. She was acting as the Borg Queen, as Girardi, as like all of these things were happening, and she had to convey that, just like you said, just as a static sitting there, everything that you were going on that journey with her just kind of was through her facial expressions and her voice. So I really liked that. That was actually my favorite as well. And by the end of that scene, I didn't know, when they were talking, when the Borg Queen was talking, when she was talking, and he was like, "Who is this? Is it Girardi, or is it the Queen? Like who?" And so it was like you were going back and forth and getting all of these different emotions out of that scene. I was very impressed, and I wonder the way that she was able to flip it on the Borg Queen and impress her. I found that to be very, she said it's a very dangerous thing to do. I wonder if there's going to be any ramifications later on in the season from that heist, that mind heist that she pulled.
Mind heist. That's a good way to put it. Yeah, no, I think you're right. I mean, it could very well be a situation where Girardi may end up having to be the person that guides them back forward in time or something like that. Like, if she is smarter than the Borg Queen, then she has the capacity to be a very necessary component to getting them back home. So that's really cool. The Rio storyline was interesting. I thought it was weird that he transported where he transported to was like basically in midair. I guess that's just because the ship was sort of malfunctioning and wasn't at full power. Mm-hmm. So that sucks. I mean, we've never seen that before, where somebody would transport and then land in the air, and then of course he suffers a concussion. The best part of that whole sequence, though, of him and his storyline is that Star Trek just made Rick and Morty canon. That is the best part.
Yeah, I laughed out loud because Rick and Morty is one of my favorite shows on TV. So yeah, when I saw that, I was like, "Oh, look, it's real, and it's still happening in 2024."
Right, we can look forward to more episodes.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, the way the episode ended. Well, the other thing I liked about the Raffi storyline is that we got to see some aspect of poverty, right? Which is,
yes.
And that's what I'm going to touch on a little bit later with our Trek term of the week. But like seeing sort of all of the homeless and all of the settlements, or I shouldn't call them settlements, but just areas of refuge, I guess, for these homeless people. That's a big part of 2024 in Star Trek lore. So I'm glad that they weren't shying away from that, especially since it's California. So that's a really nice dynamic that they're showing that, because that's important. But also it's a nice allegory to what's happening right now. So
yeah, I thought that was very timely, very touching, and kind of a double meaning for the title Assimilation.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah. They're assimilating into past culture. Girardi is literally being assimilated. It was a perfectly named episode, and they've really done very well with naming episodes so far this season. Very, very clever. Vactor, any more thoughts on the episode before I get into the Trek term? We're running a little bit low on time, so I just want to check in.
Yeah, just wanted to say I'm continuing the Q storyline. I want to see what he's up to, and I want more Q. That's all I can say.
Not nearly enough Q. And who do you think the Watcher is, by the way? Who do you think this person is going to be?
Yeah, the only thing I can think of every time I hear the Watcher is just Jeffrey Wright and the Marvel MCU, the What If Watcher. That's all I think about.
That would be funny.
That's what
I feel like it's... excuse me. I feel like it would make sense if it was like one of Brent Spiner's characters, like ancestors.
Yeah, right.
But I don't know why he would show up with some unique signal. You know what I mean? Like, that's the part I don't get. Like, whoever is in Los Angeles who is aware of the divergence in time, like, to me that means that they themselves are either time travelers or they're aliens or something. But then that kind of, I don't know. I just don't know what to make with that information. But I just feel like we're probably going to get some character, like it's going to be somebody that we know or somebody that we,
I was thinking of another Trek, like we got Whoopi Goldberg, Gyna, maybe somebody that we know from another show. That might be cool. Something.
See, if it was in San Francisco and not Los Angeles, then I would think it was going to be Ben Sisko.
Ooh.
Because of the Trek term of the week. I hinted at this last week because I said I hoped that this episode went into this, and sure enough, they showed a little bit. They didn't really call it by its name, but what I was talking about was the Bell Riots. So there's a few things I want to make note of on this. So I'm going to be reading a little bit from an encyclopedia about Star Trek stuff, so just kind of bear with me on this one. But the Bell Riots are a watershed event in American history on Earth in which internees of San Francisco's infamous Sanctuary District A took several government employees hostage in early September 2024. The ensuing riots, which were among the most violent civil uprisings in American history, were triggered by years of inhumane treatment by the American government of homeless, unemployed, and mentally ill people. Hundreds of protesters were killed when the government quelled the disturbance, but thanks to Gabriel Bell, no hostages were harmed. Now, the event made the American people aware of the injustice and the sanctuary districts, leading to much-needed social reforms and the closing of sanctuaries. Now, notably, there's an episode of Deep Space Nine where Captain Sisko ends up having to go to the past, and he realizes he's in the middle of all these Bell riots. What happens, though, is the timeline changes, and Gabriel Bell is actually killed before he's supposed to make all of these reforms happen. And so in order to ensure the timeline is successfully restored, Ben Sisko, who looks somewhat like Gabriel Bell, assumes the identity of Gabriel Bell and fulfills his role in history, securing the timeline and fixing this thing. So that's why I'm like, technically, Ben Sisko is in San Francisco in 2024. So they're really only like however many miles it is from LA to San Francisco. But like there's already other presence there. So that's why I'm like, if you don't use Avery Brooks as your watcher, oh man.
Ooh-wee.
So that would make me so perfect to do that. So anyways, Bell Riots are Trek term of the week. Other terms you might want to look up if you're curious to know more: Gabriel Bell or Sanctuary A, or even San Francisco 2024. So all that stuff, it's big in Star Trek lore. So just a heads up on that.
Nice. Excellent, Shoff. Thank you very much for another Trek term of the week, the Bell Riots. All right. To close out the show, we have a mystery unboxing from Shoff. He told me a couple days ago that something was going to be arriving on my doorstep. He wasn't using my transporter. I guess my transporter wasn't working, but I saw it. I got it. I loved it. I said, thank you, Shoff. But now's the time for me to actually see what's inside.
Woo!
So let's take a look here, Shoff. If this was a video podcast, you'd be able to see my curiosity continue to bulge. All right, let's see what it is.
And for those who like ASMR, you might hear a little bit of ruffling and as he goes into the box. So
let's see what it is. It seems like some sort of collectible figure, Shaw.
It is.
I can't see it. It's disguised. Let's see. I can see the word Star Trek. Let's see what it is, Shaw. Oh, it's very timely, Captain Benjamin Sisko. This is very nice, Shaw. This is vintage. Ooh, Playmates.
Yeah, I think it's it's either 94 or 96, but it's
very close, Shaw. 97.
97. Okay.
Yes.
So it's a 97 figure from the Deep Space Nine series of. Is it? What's the maker of that?
I see Playmates.
Yeah, Playmates. That's right.
Yes.
Yeah. Man, they had some iconic Star Trek figures from back in the day. I used to have a
man.
ton. Picard, Data, Geordi LaForge. Those were some of my favorites. But I never owned Cisco. But I know Cisco is one of your favorite captains,
Yes.
if not your favorite captain.
Yes.
And so I wanted to make sure you had that. It's a little bit of an early birthday present for you. So
Thank you very much. So half of me loves you, Shaw, for getting me this. Half of me now hates you because now I have to continue this collection because all of those ones you just mentioned I would like to have. And this is going to be starting my Star Trek collection because I don't have any Star Trek figures. So this is going to be the start of my new collection, Shaw. Thank you very much, my friend.
hey, you're welcome. You're welcome. And now the big question is, do you keep it in the box or not? Who knows?
Well, I like the Star Trek font, and I like the packaging. So I think actually I will because I like I like to have it displayed like this. So I think I will.
Yeah, I think it looks nice too. I think the only time I like to take stuff out of the box is when it's really obscured. Like if you can't really see the figure, then I'm like, well, I kind of feel like I need to take it out of the box now. So
Yeah. The only time that I do is when like you have a Funko Pop, I can take it out and still put it back in later so it doesn't mess up anything when I'm opening up the box. So the packaging stays intact. So I'll keep stuff in Funko Pop boxes and take them out and put them back in. But that's the only time. Usually I do leave them in the box most of the time.
yeah, nice.
Excellent. Well, we actually do not have time for any life updates this episode, but if you're curious what has been going on in the world of Vactor and Schaff, check out the Geek So to Speak podcast because we will be recording that later tonight, and we're going to be talking. We're going to be sharing some life updates with you. And speaking of Geek So to Speak, don't forget we are part of a Geek So to Speak podcast network that has the founding show Geek So to Speak, which is all about kind of geeky culture and things that we like to talk about each week. This week we're going to be talking about DMZ, the HBO Max miniseries, and we're going to be sharing some other things. That is Mr. Schaff, Mr. Wonderob, Mr. Vactor. We have the Star Wars podcast, The Holdo Maneuver with Cinemark and myself. We have the Sandbox Gamers, which is our video game show with Mr. Rob, Wonder Rob, myself, and Jeff W. And then finally, the comic book show, the comic book spinoff, Vactor Loves Comics, where I talk all about the comics that I've been reading that week. If you'd like to reach out to us on social media, I mentioned it earlier. It is TREKnopod on Instagram and Twitter. Mr. Schaff is Schaff VO, that's V like Victor, O, on Instagram, Facebook, and Fiverr. If you want to hire these dulcet tones, check out Mr. Schaff VO. I'm Vactor, that's just my last name, VACTOR, on Twitter and Instagram. And don't forget, you can always leave us a review in Apple and Spotify and share us with all of your friends. GeekSoToSpeak.com. Mr. Schaff, I think that's the end. And I think I'm going to tell the communicator to beam up.
Live long and prosper.